This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded September 7th, 2014, episode 215, Fugacious Fan Funding.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
On a Monday. My time, anyway.
Yeah.
Which is unusual. Usually we're a day ahead.
We used to do this, yeah. Welcome back from vacation.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes.
Slacker.
Yes, Slacker. Yeah, I only released a couple of three videos while I was gone. Slacker.
Yeah, that's not bad for you. That's not bad, yeah.
Keeping up that solid average, three a week for the last 5 years. Got to keep it up.
There you go.
Yep.
How was the vacation? Nice and relaxing, hanging out with fam?
It was, but I still had to work, You just never escape it. You just don't. I mean, I've got so many things coming up, and I had to do things and, stuff for the trade. Had to organise stuff for the trade show and, things, which is I've got to go set that up tomorrow, hence why we're recording today. And I'll be there Wednesday, Thursday, so goodness, I'm just flat out. Been flat out.
Yeah. That's weird too. When you go on vacation, you think it's going to be not a big deal, right? It's like, I'll just check some emails, but I don't know. I think we recorded one show when I was down in San Diego, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And that really did affect things. I didn't think it would be, but I have so much trouble shutting off,
Yep, same here. Can't do it. And also, it's not easy to schedule release stuff. It's easy on YouTube, right? I uploaded to the YouTube's got sort of like a bug in it where you can't get the URL address to embed into your blog website before you've actually publicly released it. If you've set it to schedule, you can't get the code, and then, you can set it to unlisted, but then if you set it to unlisted so that you can get the embed code to put in your WordPress site so you can schedule that one, then it won't let you go back into schedule mode. So you're it's just really annoying. And then trying to cut and paste stuff and do all your regular stuff you're familiar with, do it on a tablet or a phone,
Right. It's like you have to kind of bring your whole thing with you, right?
So you've got to bring the notebook, and so I had to bring the notebook and all that sort of jazz, and yep.
I got in a bit of trouble back up in the living room area. I'm in the basement, obviously, but I got in some trouble for being kind of distant, and I now have a sign right above my chair in the living room saying it's a no laptop zone.
I put the sign there.
I put the sign there.
But, you did.
But it was mostly to maintain marital harmony.
Right.
But even still, it's so easy to kind of, okay, well, I'm done for the day, kind of go upstairs, and then, another email. It's not like it's just you and me. It's everyone like that, right? And there's always that pressure these days to just kind of keep doing that stuff. And I've allowed myself to have a tablet up there, but that's it's not much better.
No laptop. No, I'm not breaking my rule. I've got a tablet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
goodness.
I
know.
Kind of
Can
a cheat.
Anyone else switch off? I mean, they're probably not in the same, public eye as we are. With so many.
Yeah, but I think that's even worse, man.
Going on.
I mean, you and I don't really have bosses anymore, right? I mean, and if you have a boss,
no, we don't.
You have someone that's demanding stuff.
We have the public demanding stuff.
Come on. We've got it easy. And you know it. And
you
remember having bosses, right? I mean,
it's a dream
I still
job,
have a boss
right?
sometimes.
I wouldn't give it up, right? Give it up, but it's not all, it's not all roses.
I find it's interesting too, even just seeing between the jobs that I've had, the difference in how strenuous each one is. Some places, I was talking to a friend about this because we were talking about someone who went to a new company, a new engineering company, And you kind of hear the company name, you're like, oh, I said this, I was like, oh, that's a grindhouse, they just grind their people down, And there's just these expectations that are there. And it's interesting because even seeing that in my own career, like my short career, I suppose, of what's expected from one place to the next, it can be pretty drastic. I mean, just in terms of hours worked and, not necessarily output.
And it's different when you first start, of course, because you want to, prove yourself, and it's all new and fresh, and you're excited, and, it's all, a change is as good as a holiday. I always say that, in terms of jobs. And, so you do that, but then once, the 6-month mark kicks in, or the 9-month, or whatever, that gestation period, you're where you want to stay at least that long in a job so it looks decent on your resume, right? You want to stay for at least that, a year kind of thing, right? So once that point hits in and you start going into cruise control and, that sort of stuff, then, it's, I do anyway. I tend to start taking it sort of less... Not less seriously, but it just ends up being more casual,
Right,
less
you don't necessarily jump as much each time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not trying to prove yourself, and you're not absolutely working your ass off. You sort of, get into the swing of the company and how if other people are working their ass off, then you might be working your ass off too. But if it's like a really laid back company, and especially if management's not that terrific in terms of organising your stuff to do, then it's easy to start slacking off after that point.
Right. Well, and then you
get into that cushy job trap, which I've had. This is a real cushy job. Why would I leave? Like it's no stress. It's great. And and you get lazy and
Yeah, and so it's that balance, right? I mean, like there's the ebbs and flows of normal. Like I think at a good engineering job is like, steady state. You might be working 40 to 50 hours a week, normal kind of hours, whatever, no big deal, right? But then, if you do have a big project coming up or you have a big deadline, you could push for 2 to 3 weeks and it's not a big deal, but then it should calm back down. The bad jobs I've had, it's like, it's all push. It's always push.
Yeah, exactly.
The only way anything gets done is that you get yelled at even more, and it's just, that's what that's a grindhouse to me. It's always that edge of your seat. You got that sick feeling in your stomach, and everybody's upset. So,
for me, what I've heard, because I've never worked at a company like this, but I know many people that do, and I've interviewed at companies like this. Those design houses. Right, if you work at one of those design, we've mentioned this before, right? That is probably the ultimate grindhouse, right? Because they've taken on they take on as many jobs as they can, otherwise they can't get income and grow, right? And then they've got X amount of resources to do this task, and they've promised a certain date to their customer, and that date is everything.
It's decoupled from reality sometimes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's got a huge bypass cap on there. It's decoupled. Oh boy, and sometimes it's not the correct voltage bypass cap, and it
it pops. Everything pops.
Yeah, that's it. And those can be a stressful job, but also very challenging if you like. Lot of different stuff and lots of different challenges all the time from project to project. That's probably an ideal place to kind of work.
For a while, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to.
For a while. But it's high stress, high burnout kind of thing.
Right.
But some people, love that. Some people thrive on it. So
they do. Yeah. No, that's true. And I mean, I guess it depends on life situations and
totally.
Stress tolerance, like you said. So yeah.
Oh yeah, if you're young, if you're a graduate out there and you just want to work on different projects and get lots of different skills, go work for some sort of design house, and do it for a couple of years, and
or consumer. Oh man, I have friends at large fruit company.
A large fruit company. Yeah.
I now have one
bananas,
of their products.
Right.
Yes, that's right. The banana laptop I have. And hearing about that stuff too. It's just it's all about culture, right? I mean, it's just like talking about getting PCBs in on Friday nights, and it's time to test the PCBs.
So let's hand assemble it. Let's work till midnight under that Mantis microscope. Assemble, just hand soldering all the 0402s and the. Yep.
Yeah, and it's weird too because it's like I'm a late worker. I stay up late doing work, And but it always felt different. You know, when I was at my last job, I would leave, you know, at normal-ish times unless there's something big going on.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But then I'd come home and work on stuff until midnight, 2 a.m. And you know, it's just a different feeling, right? If you're in an office or a lab until 2 a.m., it's just a different. It feels different, right? Even if I was coming home and doing regular work,
totally,
like work, then I don't know. It's something about freedom and choice, I guess. I don't really know.
Right. Boy. Well, both of us are free.
Yeah, sort of.
And how long has it been for you since you left? Now,
it's
shock
now
me
been
in that
7 months.
Oh, I was going to say if it's a year, I'm just packing up and going bush. Time's just flying.
I know, yeah.
And I did tell you it was the best thing ever, right? And you're not regretting it one bit?
No, I don't regret it yet. No? I mean, obviously, I've kind of picked up another gig and
you will, of course,
so.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I
suppose if
things,
you didn't pick up that, then yeah, the wife might have been, you know, whipping you a bit to bring home.
You know, the amp hour's not bringing in any dough, so you know.
But it could do if we put it on YouTube.
Oh, maybe.
They now offer fan funding.
They do.
Somebody pointed out, and this is interesting. I've been actually. It's an interesting topic. You know, funding. How do you fund your blog and stuff like that? Because I just tweeted last night that every second blog video blog I watch on YouTube seems to use this Patreon thing.
Right, where it's like one person. I saw that, who was it? Afrotech Mods.
Oh, yes, yes. He's just got it, I think. Yeah, he's just asking for... you know, I think what's his goal? You know, his goal is like X amount per video, and if he does that, then he can, you know, make it a full-time living, and he can produce videos. Right. He's been producing a few more recently.
Yeah,
so you know, he has these big, you know, hiatuses where he's got to work, or maybe he loses interest. I'm not sure. I think it's most likely work, you know, kind of stuff.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So I love he's got great videos. Just very, you know, nicely put together. Him and Scott. Scott's on Curious Inventors.
Right.
Good ones too.
And it was interesting. I read his Patreon thing for that, how long it takes him to make a video. And he says it takes him, I think it's 15 or 17 hours per minute of video. Per minute.
Yeah. Right.
So, you know, his videos are only 5 minutes long, right? You know, typically either 5 or 10, right? They're certainly not, you know, I don't think they're going to be breaking any of my records anytime soon. But yeah, that is a staggering amount of work.
Yeah.
And ask any YouTuber who produces polished videos, and they'll tell you the same thing. It's actually much, much harder and takes much, much longer to produce a shorter video than it does for my style of videos. The reason I do my style of videos that are just long and off the cuff and sort of just, you know, slapped together is because they're easier. You know, I don't want to be spending 15 hours per minute. I would spend, like, in terms of, you know, I would spend, not even an hour per minute. I'd spend, you know, tens of minutes per minute shooting a video. You know,
right?
Yeah, right. Well, some are longer than others, of course, but you know, I mean, certainly not in the same. You know, scheme as Afrotech or some of the other polished, you know, some of those science YouTube channels out there that really produce
anything with like animation especially,
and, special effects and you know all that sort of jazz. Yeah, that takes a lot of time.
You have to love editing.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
But yeah, but Patreon is an interesting model because it's actually it's not like a pay per month. It's like a pay per video, right? So it's like I pledge.
You can choose. As the
I didn't know that.
Yeah, as the content producer, you can choose whether it's per video or per month. So if people don't know how it works, is you sign up and you ask people to contribute. As soon as you release a new video, your credit card is automatically charged a set amount. So
usually like $1 or $2 kind of thing.
You know,
could be small, could be big, but
you can choose how much you want to contribute per video if the content producer signs up for that. But I personally wouldn't do that. I don't like that model. I prefer like the monthly kind of thing.
Right.
So, and then there's a set limit per month that you can also put a limit. So the content producer can't just get all these people and then suddenly go, oh, I'm going to release 20 shit videos
20
a month.
10-second videos.
Yeah, exactly. and get paid $4,000 per video,
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so there's, it really is an interesting technique.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, and it kind of benefits everyone. It's kind of people with more money being able to benefit people that are just coming up and learning and might not have money yet. And I think that's a great system. So,
but as Sandy Neal wrote on Twitter, she says some get stuck in the loop of making exclusive content for the Patreon feed, and then that's, like you're like then you have the haves and the have-nots,
right.
And the people who pay get that exclusive content, and that's sort of a real danger area, something I wouldn't go into, as we've talked about before. And
so is this YouTube thing different then? I mean, are we going to see a lot more electronics channels doing YouTube-based
I don't know anyone who uses the YouTube tip system. I'm not even sure exactly how it. Well, I signed up for it, and they've got bugs in this system. They finally fixed it. Anyway,
well, I clicked on yours to look at like what the thing was, and it says like donate like $1 or $5 or $10. I think.
Oh, okay. I haven't actually looked yet. Is it there? Okay, right.
So
it should
there,
be because I've enabled it, and you've got to have a Google Wallet account. I'm not sure how the Google Wallet works and how you extract money. So before I actually go.
Well, I use that. So Oshpark used to only take Google Wallet, so I had that set up.
Oh, right. Okay.
And so Google Play as well, like the Android market also uses that. So people that have Android Play have that too.
Right. Well, I just need to can they transfer it to my PayPal account or straight into my bank account or what? Right. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so I don't want the money to be stuck in there, and I'm having that problem at the moment. Actually, my Amazon account is I stopped getting checks, right? For the Amazon affiliate program, and I've got a buttload of money stored up in my Amazon account from all these, referral things.
That's right, folks. David L. Jones knows how to relate to the people. I've got so much money, but I don't know how to get it out.
It's a buttload. I don't know how to get it out, and I'm trying to contact them, and they're not replying. Because I didn't change anything, and all of a sudden they stopped sending the checks, and I can see the money's piling up in there, and I don't know, something happened, and
Well, I wish you the best, Dave.
I know. I may never get my money. So that's Anyway, yes, all this fan funding thing, YouTube's doing it now, and the Patreon seems to, every man his dog seems to be using that. So I don't know. I'm still sitting on the fence of that one. I'm probably just being a bit paranoid, and I'm probably doing myself out of a lot of money. But I
always wonder about this stuff. Like Kickstarter as well. Like what the what are the practical limits of this kind of thing? Because obviously the fan funded or not fan funded, but just crowd funded model, right? It seems like it runs out of juice eventually. Eventually, if there's 7 billion people in the world and 7 billion projects on Kickstarter, right? It's like okay, well, eventually, there is literally a finite supply of money. It's probably it won't get that big because eventually it fragments and stuff. But it's always a question with that kind of stuff.
It's always going to come down to who produces, the best content is going to get the money. If you're producing crap content, no one's going to pay for it. I think it's true. I think that's what it comes down to. So I think it's kind of self-balancing there because, there's a lot of crap content out there, right? And if everyone with their, a crap YouTube channel and really poor quality videos tries to, enable this thing, they're probably going to find that they're not going to make a cent because, there's so many other good ones to compete with. So it probably raises the bar for everyone. Look, I can't make money unless I produce good quality content. So, have to raise my game and start producing, good stuff instead of crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, like mine. Maybe I have to raise the bar. Yeah. Hey, the people want it. The people want mailbag.
Well, that's another problem, right? I mean, you get kind of the tragedy of the commons at that point, right? You get people wanting the simpler stuff, but the more in-depth stuff kind of falls falls to the wayside, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, I said that. My mailbag is at least twice as popular as any other technical video I do, mostly, yeah, and I got complaints last week. I released a mailbag and it was only 19 minutes long. And I had a whole bunch of complaints. Oh, it's not long enough. It's only 19 minutes long. This is ridiculous. You only opened 4 packages. Okay, so anyway, I just released one that's 52 minutes long or something. So hope you enjoy it.
I like that knife you have on there. I didn't see when you got that thing, but that thing.
Right. Yes.
Very.
The knife. It's great.
Yeah. The knife. Knife.
Knife.
Oh, I see you've played Knifey Spoony before.
Oh goodness. I didn't get that joke because I hadn't seen that Simpsons episode. So
missing out, man.
Yep, I know. Oh,
so let's talk some electronics here, man. What have you been doing electronics wise lately? Yeah? Mr. Content Producer?
Mr. Content Producer?
I'm doing a little dance here, yeah.
I haven't had time. I've been doing bloody mailbag tears down and getting stuff ready for the show and tear down. I went to the Maker Faire and it's all, yeah, like there's so many sort of more technical videos I want to do, but it's just finding the time to do it because I've got to clear my backlog of mailbag. I've got to clear my backlog of teardowns, and doesn't leave much else. So it's tough. I did design my new micro ruler. So at least I used the PCB
you did that for the
package.
conference, right?
Yeah. So, and there, I think it's like on the truck. So hopefully it'll turn up just in time.
Yeah. Well, that's the only way it should turn up for a conference.
Oh yeah, of course, right at the last minute. So I'll be probably going to my storage thing where I get stuff delivered, and I'll have that Wednesday morning on the way to the I'll pick it up, and then I'll find it's totally ruined or something. It's totally wrong, and I don't know. I'm sure I've goosed something on it because I did it at. I just threw it together in a couple of hours and just bugger it. There it goes. I need it because I had to order it that day. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten it in time. And it was a real rush job, So I've screwed something up, no doubt. Yep.
I reverse millimeters and inches, but I'm sure they'll figure it out, right?
Yeah. Or I actually got the scale wrong, and I put them every 1.02 inches instead of 1 inch or something.
Right, but what happens then, though, is they make up a new measurement system for named after you.
Like the smoot.
Like the smoot, right.
Yeah, right.
There you go. Automatic wiki page.
Yep, awesome.
So I got a new toy here.
What'd you get?
It's actually very similar to the last toy I got. So I don't know if you remember me talking about the AC induction motor kit.
Oh, yes. You got the kit, right?
Right.
You got this high voltage kit that can, kill you or something.
Well, about that.
Right? Yeah, well, you're still alive, obviously, unless you've pre-recorded this.
Right. Yeah, for now. No, so that was back in probably January or so of this year. I got this kit. It's the I don't remember what it is. It's a Texas Instruments kit, but basically
it's a motor control kit, right?
It's a motor control kit. It's HVM for high voltage motor control, and it's something 5X, right? And so I got this kit, and it's this beautiful. I mean, honestly, it's this beautiful kit. I don't know if I actually posted videos or pictures of when I was doing it, but nice kit, kind of pricey. It was $700, but it's got a plug-in control card with isolators on it and everything. It's got a 5X family piccolo, the C2000, Trey German was on talking about. So I mean, that's part of the reason that I got introduced to Trey is that I asked some friends if they knew anyone there, and that was him. And then I was like, hey, you should come on the show. And so I had been working on this thing, and I got all the way through to the point of I was very nervous doing this kind of thing, getting started up. I had my friend with me here, and he was, we were making sure we weren't using two hands to touch anything, right? I mean, all the careful stuff for high voltage,
right?
And then we get all the way through to the end, and and we're just doing the demo stuff, mind you. We're just doing the demo stuff.
Okay.
We're plugging into this AC induction motor we have. It's like a quarter watt AC induction motor, which is like 180 horsepower, and we turn it all the way up, and we turn it up to like 1,000 RPMs, and it works fine. And then I turn it up to like 3,000 RPMs because that's like there's like a peak or there's like a optimum speed of the motor.
Right. Yeah.
And I turn it up to that, and it's like, no, I'm not going to go past 1,100. And I'm like, what is going on here? You know, so I'm going through all the troubleshooting sequences, everything else. And I get to the end, and basically it's that the high voltage rail wasn't high voltage enough. Basically, I had bought the kit that didn't have power factor correction on it. And, you know, because basically I bought this thing blind, right? I mean, this is the downside of buying a kit blind.
A $700 kit.
A $700 kit blind, right? And a $300 motor. And basically what it was is so it brings in AC, which around here is about 120, and it rectifies it. And so like 120 RMS is like, you know, 170 peak or so.
Right.
So if you start to rectify it, it's about 170, 180. And basically, so you just put it through diodes, and then you store it in capacitors, and you get this high voltage bus, right? Well, I expected a 350 volt bus because that's what it says in the kit. It says, you know, can handle up to 350 volt DC bus or 400 volt.
Right.
Yeah, well, there's this whole section missing, which is the power factor correction section. Now, I don't know about you, but I always thought a power factor. I mean, first off, you know what power factor correction is?
Yeah, but what's power factor correction got to do with the value of the voltage rail?
Aha! So power factor correction. So for people that don't know, power factor correction is basically, it's like power factor correction. Power factor is basically the measure of how sinusoidal it is, how much you affect the AC mains that you're on, right? So the big case being that if you have a big motor that you throw into your AC mains, it starts to really get out of phase.
And that leading, lagging stuff.
Lagging stuff, right?
And your power factor correction is not 1. If your power factor correction is 1, 1.0, then you are, you know, everything's in phase and you're driving a pure resistive load.
Correct. And
but if you're driving a capacitive load, like a switch mode power supply, or an inductive load, like a motor, then it can lead or lag. Depending on the
and
type
what the
of load.
practical thing is basically your sinusoid that's coming in stops looking like a sinusoid. You start to you get to harmonics on there, and it starts to look really ugly. And what ultimately is happening
not necessarily. It's not necessarily distorted. Power factor correction is just the phase angle. It can just be the phase angle. It's not necessarily a waveform is distorted. It can still be a pure sine wave, but it can be out of phase.
Okay. And so basically what happens though, is basically what happens though is that it puts more strain on the grid and everything else, and that starts to hurt upstream basically. So you know the power plant has to work harder, and then if you're an industrial customer, oftentimes they meter you differently if your power factor is not 1 because your real power versus your reactive power, I forget what the terms are, are different, right?
Correct. And they'll charge you for that in an industrial scenario. That's why in industry, they will, you know, if you've got huge motors everywhere, then they'll have huge banks of capacitors as well to try and correct for that power factor, so that they don't pay excess, you know, money for all this apparent power. So anyway, it's like in a residential situation, you don't pay for that power. They don't measure power factor. So
correct, right?
Yep.
But they probably can't supply you with all the juice you'd need to really do any damage to the grid anyway. So,
right.
So, okay. So, what's the practical implications here? Well, the practical implications are when you have a power factor circuit, and this is the thing that I did not realize at all. A power factor circuit is not nothing more, but is a boost converter.
Right. Well, there's several different ways to do a power factor correction.
Okay, but this power factor circuit is a boost converter.
Right.
So it takes it from 180 up to 360, basically.
360, got it. Yep.
And so that DC bus that I thought was there was not there, and as a bit of a tinge, I'm not sure why it happened like this. I think it probably was like different groups within TI, and I probably should have asked Trey when he was on the show. But basically, the kit I got was like this black hole of like it only works by itself. There's like maybe a family of like 8 products total, and like this kit I got is like you can't use anything else with this kit. And so what ended up happening was I had to go out and buy an all new kit, and yeah, so that's my current status. Is now I have this new kit, and it actually gets up to 350 volts, and but now it also works with. And you can get
your 3,000 RPM.
Yeah, right, and it also has this. I think we talked about it when Trey was on the show, but InstaSpin. Oh yeah, we did, because I posted the video of it. So 2 shows ago now, or 3 shows ago, I suppose, when Trey was on the show, we talked about the motor control and that video of the beer moving back and forth on a conveyor belt. That's called InstaSpin and InstaSpin FOC and motion stuff. And now I'm actually able to get that as well, which is interesting stuff. So yeah, that's been my purchasing adventure lately. I guess that's not really as much of an electronics adventure, but
no, that's fun.
It'll burn you. You gotta read the date sheet, I suppose.
Oops, that sucks. I mean, you buy a $700 kit and it doesn't, and it's missing a pretty essential kind of thing.
Well, and it's...
Although it still kind of worked, but...
Yeah, right. Well, and I was thinking about it, and it's like, really, it's not priced for people that are doing this in their basement, right? And, I mean, to be fair, it's like I'm a company, right? I mean, I have my own company and stuff, but that $700 is mostly a barrier to entry, right? The cost of the kit is probably, a quarter or a half of that.
Yep.
And it's, it's just a barrier to entry so that people that are actually interested in it are using it, but I don't know. It stings.
Right. So it's not a cheap ass Raspberry Pi or a $4.30, launch pad, right? It's like serious people buy these things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Have you seen this? I posted one about the another TI product, I suppose, but this is a different reference. It's a reference design. The Smart Home and Energy Gateway.
Smart Home.
Yeah.
What are they doing these days?
Well, it sounds kind of wanky, right? But it's actually so it's all open source, I really like that about TI. The motor kit I use is open source as well. But basically, this is like they wanted to throw every single radio they could onto a board.
Oh, right. So they've got Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Zigbee, BLE.
Yep. NFC and a couple others, and basically all the different protocols and stuff. And so that's the reason it's kind of cool. Is that that's for people that are kind of getting started, it might be good to have something like that and be able to build on it. It's got a couple expansion headers.
Right. So it's just like a wireless interface, is it? It doesn't do anything else. It's just sort of like it's got 5 different wireless interfaces on it that hook up to the Internet of Things.
Well, and it's got a A8 on board, so that I think that's similar.
Right. Okay.
I don't know, the AM3352. I'm not sure which chip that is. It might be like the BugleBone Black chip or something, but
right.
But yeah, it's basically hanging a bunch of stuff off there. So that's good though. Yeah.
It's called the Sintara processor.
Sintara.
Oh,
Sitara?
Sorry, not Sintara. Sitara.
Yeah, Sitara is the one that's on the BugleBone Black, I think.
Okay, right, it is. Okay, yeah, it's the AM3352. Okay. ARM Cortex A8.
Yeah. It's outside of our wheelhouse around here.
Right.
What isn't these days?
No.
There are some other good ones.
You added something on triboelectric noise in cables.
Yeah.
Why
Did you
was that?
have to deal with?
Oh, I had to deal with that.
Yeah, I figured this was kind of in your
Yep.
your wheelhouse. So what is this, and why should people care about it?
The triboelectric effect is noise induced in a cable through movement of the insulation against the conductor and all that sort of jazz. It can actually generate a charge in your cable when you move it. So if you've got a test jig or something like that that's constantly moving, like an automated test jig, and you have to run your cables through those, snaky, cable gland kind of things, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
then when those cables move, you can get a charge generated on that cable, and that can be a real pain in the ass. It can ruin the day, especially if you've got accelerometers and other charge sensors at the other end of the cable. So you've got a sensor that's like an accelerometer will typically be a charge-based thing. It'll be giving out, a certain amount of charge, and then, if you've got cables also generating charge on them, oops, so yeah, and it happens. And I think I did a video on probe shock, oscilloscope probe shock, where I did the it wasn't the triboelectric effect, but I think I may have tried to demonstrate the triboelectric effect in that. Anyway, I think I mentioned it on the blog or two.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Well, I mean, and this is something that people can to practically do. Like, I mean, anytime you move a oscilloscope probe, right, you're going to see some kind of blip on the screen, probably. But
you probably can, and that could be due to triboelectric noise being generated.
I always think about it, and maybe this is the wrong way to think about it, but I always think about it as like the insulation has charge pockets in there, basically, but when you start moving stuff around, it creates like rubbing as well, and that kind of frees up some electrons.
It's like, those old experiments you did in high school, physics of, rubbing the amber rod on the cloth and all that sort of, generating your static charge and all that sort of charge. It's a similar sort of thing. When you've got materials that rub together, you can generate charge, and that's what happens in our cables. So any humble coax cable is going to have a triboelectric effect in it, other, regular hookup wire, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you've just got to be aware of it if your system is moving. I mean, if it's not moving, it doesn't generate a charge. So if your wiring's all fixed, then it's all fine. But yeah, if you're moving that, cable around, coax cable or other types of cables, it can ruin your day. And that was a big business. And that was a big problem in my industry.
Is it possible to remove the signal dynamically, or is it just like zip tie stuff down so it doesn't move? Can you filter on it, or?
Well, you can.
Or is it all based at the actual physical level?
But no, it's at the physical level. It's at the physical level. So it depends on what kind of frequency content you're feeding through. You might be able to filter it out. But when I was working in the the seismic stuff, no, we were dealing with low frequency stuff anyway, which is where the triboelectric noise would come in. And it was a big pain in the ass. And you can buy special cables that are designed to not totally eliminate triboelectric noise, but get pretty close to it. Really low noise triboelectric cables. So often when you'll read a data sheet and it might say this is a low noise cable. That's what they might be talking about. You might have to check the fine print on that, but often that's what they might be talking about. During movement, it doesn't generate a large triboelectric effect. So
fix it with money. That's the answer.
Right, fix it with money, or just don't make your cables move. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but it's hard. Even just bending them, right? Even just bending them back and forth, you can generate a little, just on one point of the cable that can generate some triboelectric noise. So, yeah, it's a real problem that if you aren't aware of it, can bite you one day if you're doing very low level sensor type stuff. Usually, we're talking down in the microvolt range. We're not talking volts of triboelectric noise or anything like that.
Right.
Although you probably, I don't know, you might be able to get that higher. I can't remember the actual figures off the top of my head now for typical, like a typical coax cable or something like that. But yeah, big problem. Beware, folks. Trap for young players.
Yep. Why
are you laughing at me?
Oh, just always doling out the wisdom, man. That's
right.
That's good.
Yeah. Yes, I've usually been there and done that.
What about this?
Way,
So our buddy Marcus, he's had some hard fought wisdom. I guess also our buddies over at Spark Fun.
Yes,
we've had both on the show now.
Where is this one again? I forget. Yeah, but he made the little micro view display. Right?
Yeah.
That's what it's called, isn't it? Yeah, the microview display. And he got Spark Fun to make it and ship it for him. We talked about this. We had him on there, and we
Yeah, we had him on the show. That's right.
And we talked about that when it was on the show, right? Because he was just about to release it, right?
Yep.
Or something, or he had just released it. And oops. Tell the story. What happened? Because I don't have it open here.
Basically, it was a revision to the firmware.
The bootloader, right?
Yeah, they left out the bootloader in the image. So once they loaded it, they couldn't reload it.
Yep.
And there's been a couple mods out there. So basically, there's ways that people can go and fix. I haven't actually followed up on the fixing side of things, but ultimately what Nathan from SparkFun wrote about is that they're going to replace everybody's microview. So it was like something like 2,300 microviews or something like that, and that was a $58,000
oopsie
loss. Yeah, oopsie, right.
And it comes out of his pocket, not SparkFun's, I think, because I didn't quite know who was actually responsible in the end. But I'm not sure who. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, that's the businessy side of things. I'm sure that there's there's lots of ways to figure that kind of thing out. But
anyway, if you're wondering why the hell didn't they do testing to pick this thing up, it would have been trivial. Well, they did. They had extensive. He's got like photos of his custom test jigs and stuff like that, and all the details. Go and read it. It's an excellent story of how Murphy can just come and bite your ass, and
well, actually, it's actually a really interesting. I mean, it's common because basically, as people know, that people with Windows systems, especially, if you plug in a USB device, basically it assigns it a COM port, like a new serial USB device, right? And sometimes it can take a while to do so. And also, I think that cycles over at 256 or something like that. Basically, I know I used to use serial stuff like that, and it would always increment. And then there was always issues with it, though. Anytime you plugged in something new, especially if you're using like lots of devices, like you're in a manufacturing setting, and so you skip that part of it, right? So you just kind of bypass that. But that's the way to catch that kind of thing. And it's like, well, why would you wouldn't normally do that in a manufacturing environment? So it's just. I thought it was a pretty legit oversight. I mean, it's not like someone was asleep on the job or anything. It was just
no. It's just the process something that they didn't. The testing procedure just it thought of everything but that kind of thing, and they were doing everything right, pretty much, and they still got bit. So, it's tricky business.
That does hurt. So I've been working on this website. I've been working on a website for my new job, and I could talk about that later. But I work with web people now, and I've wanted to talk about this because we're pushing stuff out early, not early, but like not done-ish, not like done.
It's a beta thing.
It has been the hardest thing for me ever. Where you talk to software people, like especially web people, right? And great example. We've had Eric Rees on the show, right? Eric Rees, lean startup, get something out there as soon as possible, right? And Eric was very careful to say it needs to be a shippable, finished, but not necessarily a huge product, and I agree with that and everything else. But I have had such a struggle with this, where we're like, we're just going to release it, and then we'll see what happens, right? And it's not bad. I mean, like the stuff we're doing is not bad, but just like I'm like, well, we got to put like 20 more things into this, right? And like the difference between hardware, especially like hardware and like web software, is so drastically different that my brain is lit on fire like constantly.
Different in what way?
Because oh my god! So on the web, you just friggin' click a button and you got to like update your server. Okay, that's not trivial, but it's not like hard.
Right.
In hardware, if you want to do it, you got to change a rev, you got to redo your BOM, you got to change all your directions, you got to change your manufacturing. You have to stage it, so you need to test when it's going out. Like all of the things that suck in hardware manufacturing. Mm-hmm. Software just doesn't have to. I mean, like they have to do other things, right? I get it. I don't. I know I'm going to piss people off saying that kind of thing, but like there's just the differences. Like, and especially for me because I've only done hardware in the past. It's so striking that it's like it's really really hard for me, because I want to put. What's that?
Are you saying that it's easier for software, well, it's more enticing for software people just to push out rubbish than it is hardware people. Like, unfinished, we'll just add that later kind of thing, to push out an
not
unfinished product.
but like hooks, right? So and we do this in hardware too, right? So you talk about hooks a lot in software and stuff like that. So basically you're ready to go for later, and I would do that in hardware too, right? You put in whereas you might have connected point A to
exactly. You might put in a
point A to point B.
Connector
You stick a 0 ohm in there, right? So that you're good to go. You know that it's not going to affect anything, and you want to place the solder later, right? And I do that all the time. But
it isn't to the same scale, you're saying.
It's not to the same scale, yeah.
Right.
Because you're able to iterate so much more. And you can read about it all day long, but until you're in the middle of it, I never got it, Mm-hmm. And so it's been a struggle. And I've got another analogy. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. So in my non-work capacity, I run WordPress sites, right? Obviously, we run WordPress for the Amp Hour and stuff like that. And WordPress is this, it's a blogging platform. It's super simple. It updates itself, and lots of people make stuff for it. You can buy. We bought the skin for the Amp Hour site and stuff like that. And I was doing that the other day, and I did the click to update it, and I had bought another theme recently or a skin, and I'm like, this is what hardware or software people want for hardware, right? People want to be able to buy a Raspberry Pi and buy a plug-in, buy a board, right? Whatever, and and you can do that. The
reality is a bit.
Yeah, well, you can do that, but only to so far, right? It's the same thing on the web, right? So if I really, really need something custom or different or different from the crowd, then I need to build it myself. I need to dig into the code. I need to write a plugin. I need to do all these other things. And it's the same thing in hardware, right? It's if we want to do, if a software person comes in and wants to use a Raspberry Pi, they can do that, right? But if they want to build a sensor that talks to a Raspberry Pi that isn't out there already, or that's on a custom board, or you want to redo a BeagleBone Black with a board or an Arduino clone or something like that, it's just it was striking to me as I clicked this button. I was like, this is what they want, and it's disappointing when you don't get what you want.
It all comes back to that thing, that holy grail of hardware, the modular based thing, and Altium tried it, and the future's modular. You'll just drop in a schematic module of a DC to DC converter, an ADC, and you'll never have to design anything from scratch ever again. And
right.
It's just slap you on the face, come back to reality. But software, they can do that, kind of. Well, they think they can.
Well, I think what it ultimately comes down to, it's the same in both, right? It's you can do a lot of interesting things with
modular
the stuff
based.
that's off the shelf or modular.
Right, yeah,
okay, so a good
course.
example for hardware, right? So Little Bits is a good example of modular hardware, right? They can plug stuff together and everything else.
Well,
the thing is, though,
we're talking about systems engineering versus custom engineering.
Yeah, right.
And that's what a system with off-the-shelf parts.
Right, exactly. And at a certain
modules.
point, if you want to differentiate yourself in a marketplace, you need to be different.
you have to go custom. Yeah, that's right.
Anyone can take a modular component and then build the same thing you did, right?
Exactly. Anyone can go to National Instruments and buy a whole bunch of off-the-shelf boards that do this, and this, and put it together, and that doesn't make a product, though.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
It solves a problem. It might solve a problem for you, but it doesn't, give you a product you can sell. Really.
Yeah, and I guess it's all about that balance point of because we've talked Little Bits and National Instruments stuff in the past, right? Even last week we were talking about National Instruments. It's good for prototyping. It's good for getting up and getting started, and that's the point of it, right? And same kind of thing for a WordPress site, to take it back to the software side, right? WordPress site is great for beginners like me that don't know crap, right? But eventually someone's going to have to, if I want to be different, I have to probably hire a coder and
make it look more and do some custom stuff and make it, more custom-y.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it's still maybe running WordPress under there, but, at least,
maybe.
But it looks like a custom site,
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I guess the thing that struck me about it was I was like, well, I didn't quite understand the reason that people don't want to get into hardware, right? Obviously that sounds stupid, right? Of course, there's lots of reasons not want to get into hardware, but even just kind of dipping a toe in, why don't you just dig into KiCad, right? KiCad's great, I love KiCad, right? But it's no, people want the WordPress. They want the WordPress for hardware, right? That's what they want,
right?
And that's what really struck me about it is the that package solution, the one click. I don't want to worry about it. I just want to do what I want to do.
Uh-huh.
So
there
I had to get that out. That wouldn't have fit into a tweet. Yeah.
Breathe in, breathe out, deep breaths.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. It's not bad, right?
Here he goes.
It's not. I know. It's not bad. It's just. That's
different.
how everybody gets started, right?
Yeah,
no, it's not even different.
yeah,
It's just that's how people get started. That's how everybody starts with a development kit or a test board or stuff like that. That's
Not
okay.
necessarily. I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, a lot of people do.
I think going forward, a lot of people start that way. How about that? Maybe
You're
not
right,
always
yes.
in the past because there wasn't that option.
Because some things are just not doable with off-the-shelf stuff. Some projects are just it has to be custom from day one.
True. True.
And yeah. Next.
Yeah.
People will hate me, but I'm going to bring it up. Who is Altium buying?
Oh, you're going to talk about this? You don't even know. I feel like
I have no idea.
That's
I'm
not a good
speculating.
subject. I know. I guess that's all
Why?
we do.
That's
So
all
Dave,
we do
who is
is
Altium buying?
Bloody hell, I don't know, but it's got to be someone big or multiple companies.
Why?
Anyway, go and read my blog if you want to hear about it.
No,
And
yeah, I
there's
did
people
read it. And it was
speculating
good.
on
I mean, it was good
Yeah.
analysis. I mean, but they only have $22 million in the bank. That's not a...
Yeah, you can't blow it all, but yeah,
That's
no,
nothing,
they're
though. That's
buying.
what I'm saying. You can't buy anyone for $22 million.
Oh, you want to bet?
No one good.
Farnell bought, Element 14 bought Eagle for $12 million.
Was that all it was?
Yeah, that's all it bloody
Interesting.
well was.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. Not everyone is just Nest stupid, right? Seriously. I'm reading a book at the moment, The Downfall of IBM or whatever it's called by Robert Cringely, Robert X. Cringely. And and he's talking about IBM sold off their PC business, right, to Lenovo, right, the Chinese company. They sold it for $2 billion, right? It was nothing. It was nothing, right? This is a company that turned over $30 billion a year or something, and they sold it for $2 billion. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It was dirt cheap, right? When you compare it to, a Nest or anything else, right? It was ridiculously dirt cheap. Some things go dirt cheap, is what I'm saying. It doesn't. Companies don't have to get caught up in the, the
but that's for
craziness that we
different
have these
reasons.
days.
No, I mean, I agree with what you're saying that some things do go dirt cheap, but it's all for different reasons. Nest was bought for super expensive because they extrapolated, what it could be worth.
No, because it was a
Lenovo's
boys' club,
PCB
and that's
business
when
was
I'm
sold
making a statement.
No, Dave. It's because of it's always growth, blah blah blah. The reason Lenovo stuff goes so cheap is because they were probably hemorrhaging money, and they wanted.
No. The reason was IBM got a lot out of it, incidental stuff out of it. They bought into a Chinese. The reason was that they bought into a business with a Chinese manufacturer. So they put some. Anyway, I won't go into details. Read the book if you want to.
I will have.
Anyway.
I'm going to read that book. I think.
Yeah.
It's called The
only
Downfall of
$2 on
IBM?
Amazon Kindle. Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
I can't remember what it's called, but I'll have to link it into the show notes. It's $1.50 on Amazon Kindle. It's good. Yep. Anyway,
okay.
I don't know who they're buying. I don't know why they're buying, but anyway, there's a trade-in halt, and they're going to announce investment capital, external capital into the company. And the only reason you take capital is to buy something. You don't raise capital just to hire more people or something like that.
They're buying Dave Jones.
Yeah, they're buying Dave Cad. It's a scoop here on the Amp Hour. Yeah,
That'd be expensive, man. That'd be really expensive. You'd be buying 3M, right?
Yep, I'll be recording this next show from my own private island in the, in the Bahamas.
Yep.
Oh, goodness. Yep. Anyway, speaking of buyouts, Infineon are buying International Rectifier for $3 billion. So
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
kinda
know
big.
the financials. Yeah, that's kind of big. But International Rectifier aren't small, and they've got, I don't know their financial status, but they'd have probably, $1 billion in revenue a year or something, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, Infineon's weird
so
because they're actually a really big company that you don't hear about much because they're doing a lot of auto stuff. So they're real.
And they're a spin-off from HP. Infineon.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yes. They started
but yeah,
out
so,
as the optical division, I think, of HP. I think.
No, that's someone else. Who is that?
Tawiki.
Not Osram.
Infineon
Osram's the
Technologies.
German one. It's something with an A.
All right.
Something with an A.
Anyway.
But yeah, so but Infineon is a lot of people don't know about them just because they're really tailored to a lot of their stuff goes to the auto market.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
so it's got the special temp ranges and all that other stuff. And but they make good parts. I mean, I've used a couple of their parts in the past. I'm like, especially like the, because they kind of crossed over industrial when I was doing industrial stuff. So they kind of had the high reliability type of things. And it's weird too.
Sorry, it was Siemens. It was Siemens, not HP.
Oh, okay.
Spun off from Siemens.
Were they the optical division though?
I don't know.
Okay.
Now I'm second guessing myself. Yep. Oh, there you go. Their revenue is $3.8 billion a year. So they bought them for basically the cost of 1 year's sales. So that's
Yeesh.
relatively cheap in the scheme of things. Yeah.
That's a lot of money still, man.
Yeah, it is. But for a company that turns over $3 billion, so maybe they're in debt. I don't know. No, their profit was $272 million last year. That's not a bad buy actually in the scheme of things.
Yeah, I heard really weird though too because they make a lot of like trench FETs and stuff like that, like the big heavy duty stuff for switching, but
yep.
what
sorry,
else
sorry. I'm talking about Infineon. Those figures were for Infineon, not for International Rectifier.
I got that.
Right.
But I'm just saying an International Rectifier in general. So they make like big FETs and stuff like that, like power switching is.
Yep.
Do you know anything else they make? I've only used them for that ever.
Yeah,
so.
I think I've only used them for that sort of stuff. The optocouplers, the diodes, the MOSFETs, and the everything else. No,
ultimately,
that's pretty. They do power bricks and
modules,
all sorts of stuff. Yeah, I think they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like these kind of takeovers, they really don't. They don't.
Sorry. Have to get the we're a radio, we're a
wiki,
a
come on,
show,
man,
right?
Definitely, people can't look this up on their own. I mean,
no, they can't. $1 billion. Well, they don't want to. They listen to us in their car or whatever, or at the bench, and they don't have access. Anyway, International Rectifier have $1 billion in sales, and they were bought for $3 billion. So that's still not bad.
Yeah, that's a lot of silicon.
That is a lot of silicon. $1 billion worth of silicon.
Yeah.
Yep. I assume they have their own fabs, do they? International Rectifier have a...
I don't know.
I don't know either. So much for our in-depth...
There goes our investigatory journalism degree.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of silicon, though, did you see Ken Sheriff's blog about the 7805?
That made me want to go out and buy a bloody proper real microscope,
I know. So people don't know. So if people haven't seen this yet, basically it's so he did a teardown of a 7805 in a TO3 package, like one of those metal cans that you see usually kind of just sitting there.
One of those old school,
heating up the inside.
The reason he did
case.
that is because they're easy to chop the case off. You just get a hacksaw out and you just, you don't have to dick around with chemicals and actually dissolve all the encapsulant and stuff like that. So it's an easy way to get to a die.
I just wanted to call out this article. It is a very well done article. So basically,
and it explains how the PN substrate, and the substrates work compared to the photograph of the die, and he's got them lined up, and it's just
And this is something I always had a lot of trouble with when I was learning about like just transistors in general, like doing that translation of like the top down view even when you see it, like it's hard to actually visualize that stuff doing 2D versus 3D view.
Oh, totally. I don't know. I know jack all about semiconductor physics. I've never had to be involved in that part of the industry. You have, because you've worked in a fab, I guess. But, for your average electronics engineer like me, we, probably, unless you actually did a specific course on it, you probably have no idea about, semiconductor manufacturing stuff.
Yeah. Well, so, I had taken classes on it, but, you never really learn it until you're into it, right? And so we did a couple months of training when I got to Samsung, too. But I'll tell you, the thing that actually did it for me and the rest of the class and stuff like that, because I started with a bunch of people there, if people are interested in silicon and, like, learning about the structures and everything like that, throw away your top-down pictures, your side pictures. This is what we did. We put together Google SketchUp of the different layers in silicon, where we were able to label everything, hide everything. You will if you get a 3D model of that stuff, oh man, like that is the way to do it, because then you have that somewhere between, above the straight down shot and the side shot, and you can really start to put stuff together. And
totally.
I don't understand why there isn't that stuff elsewhere, though. Like, these
sure
stupid textbook companies, why aren't you guys doing it, right? I mean, like, it's like, I hate that mentality of like, well, I learned it this way, so you should learn it this way. It's like, screw you, I should learn it the way that makes me learn it, that is and those 3D models, they did everything for me. So highly recommend that. I haven't ever seen any on the web, but if you go work at Samsung, there might be some floating around. Or people want to learn it. The best way to do it is do it yourself and start piecing stuff together. So.
We just did the real basic, the textbook stuff of the, the doping and the, and the PN substrate and all that. But it never really translated to how it was physically manufactured and actually printed on the, on the die and stuff like that. It was just, here's how it works. Here's how your transistor works in theory. With all your substrates and your doping and your layers and all that.
Right.
And
that's actually a really good example too, because the doping side of things, right? People say doping, and you're like, oh, okay, well, what does that mean? But then when someone shows you a drawing of like the doping area, but everything else is covered by a really thick photoresist, right? And then you basically thrown into an ion implanter, and you're throwing ions at it. It's like, oh, the ions only get through where it's open, right? I mean, like, that sounds really simple. If anyone's done silicon before, it's that sounds totally obvious, right? But, like, that was such a big deal for me, And then you throw it into an oven, and those ions kind of spread out a bit, and that's great. And then you kind of etch stuff, and then you put down more photoresist and all this other crap. And it's like, it sounds so dumb, but it really, really, really helps. So,
And then on top of that, you've always got the fundamental physics, the deep fundamental physics of how a transistor works and how barriers work, and quantum theory. Yeah, and,
I've been thinking about this stuff more recently too. So I was over at Martin Lorton's house, so former guest of the show, and his video should be coming out soon. He's been doing a power supply project and kind of going over the high level. How does the power supply do voltage control, right? Stuff like that. We were talking about that, and. And then I actually got a book based on a friend's recommendation. It was the Tab Electronics book, which is really actually well written. But it's still dug into the math and everything else so quickly. And, I feel like so much of it's just like, why do I care at all? That's all you have to answer, and no one ever really answers that stuff. And it's really, really, really frustrating. And so, like, I feel like the high-level stuff is so much more important to start with. And,
totally.
Because
it keeps your enthusiasm and it gets you understanding. You can learn the detail, the real details later if you need to. I mean...
Right, and people are self-selecting then, too, right? It's not like you're forcing... It's not like you're starting with... If you start with a group of 100 people, right... and you immediately go to transistors, you're probably down to 5 people that might stick with it, right?
Yeah.
But if you go with 100 people and you talk about, oh, well, here's how you power a project, right? Yeah, you might stick around 40, 50 people. And then, oh, well, let's talk about some of the blocks in here. Oh, yeah, maybe down to 20 people, But maybe the net is that when you get down to transistors, you actually stick with more people. And if not, you leave people at different paths along the way. And, yeah.
And then if you start out with fundamental physics, you've lost everyone from
I know. Oh, I can't
from the get-go. And so many classes I've done have done that.
Yeah.
You know, they start, here's the bloody, let's derive this from
a sheet
first
of charge
principles.
going that's uniform in all directions, right?
Oh, bloody hell. Who gives a toss? I want to be an electronics design engineer. I don't want to be,
a
designing,
new.
I don't want to, work at bloody Samsung designing, new fabrication technology, know.
Right. No, I agree. I totally agree. And
right.
and I feel like the people that do continue on then are in a much better place because they have the context and everything else. The context, Dave.
Contextual electronics. Yeah. Uh-huh. You've got it nailed, dude. You're going to be rich.
I doubt that. My site's not working right now. I don't know if you see.
Which one of us is going to have that private island in the Bahamas first?
Oh, definitely you, dude. Yeah.
Oh, you think? All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just have to keep that whip going, produce more content, and sign up to the Patreon feed, and milk that cow.
Going back to this article real quick, the thing that I did like about it, if people do choose to go into the actual operation of the circuit and everything, and I think this is a very good explanation of it, he actually calls out the difference between how the counterfeit chip he's talking about works and the traditional 7805 from NXP. And that is extremely impressive to me. So it's definitely worth reading, and nice work, Ken. So very good stuff.
Yeah, fantastic. I don't know how long he spent on this article, but he put a lot of work into it, and it shows. It's awesome.
Yep. So we're kind of over an hour, man. Do we want to keep going?
You linked in a Dilbert cartoon. We can't leave out Dilbert.
Did I link that? I didn't link that, did I?
Oh, somebody linked it. Somebody linked in a Dilbert cartoon.
Yeah, Dan linked that in.
Oh, there you go. Good on you, Dan.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's all about venture capital and actually trying to bluff your boss.
Right.
Yeah, that's funny, as all Dilbert cartoons are. It's great.
I saw the Mythbusters guys are in Australia. Are you going to be going to that or no?
No, I
didn't get tickets.
It's all over Red Rover now, and I'm kicking myself. I should have gone.
Oh, that's too bad.
I should have bought tickets when it was first, but I go, I'll get them later,
Yeah.
And no, it's slipped my mind, and I don't think there's any shows left in Sydney.
Yeah, because they were there. They were going all over the country, I think. So
yep.
Let's see. Other things I wanted to mention in the list. Actually, this is from Luke, our friend over at Triad. So Triad was a former sponsor of the show, but Luke is one of their applications engineers who I know, and he did this cool thing. I didn't realize that SparkFun had like a data store for like IoT devices, but basically Luke built a graphing tool over top of that. You'll have to excuse my lack of understanding of this web stuff, but basically you could start logging data to this data.sparkfun and maybe this fant.io, Fantio.
Right.
And but Luke built this great graphing utility over top of it, and you can actually see, like as they're spitting out stuff, as the sensors are spitting out data, it does graph over time as well. And you mentioned you have something similar to this, but this is, I think, based on Electric Imp or something like that. So
yes, it's something to do with Imp. I don't know.
Something Imp. I'm not sure if it's Electric.
I'm not sure what's going on
Electric Imp. Yeah. So pretty cool. So nice job, Luke.
And of course, we can't. No show is complete without the bingo wank words of 3D printers and crowdfunding. Suicide.
I didn't get to this one. Did you read this one?
This is a great article about. We'll definitely link it in. Check it out. It's a real in-depth article of the cost-benefit analysis of actually doing a 3D printer crowdfunding campaign. There've been so many, right? Countless, right? We're
and
talking double digits, right?
Yeah, lots of scams too.
Well, they're probably not deliberate scams, but that's what this guy's saying, right? They're it is actually impossible Almost practically impossible to do a $300 3D printer Kickstarter project unless you sell like 3,000. He's got the math and the graphs to back it up and all the data and everything else, and it's fantastic. And there's this viability curve, and if you're under the viability curve, you are guaranteed to go bankrupt before you can produce your 3D printers. Guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
Even if you pay yourself nothing, no wages at all, right, working on this thing, and all your employees you need to help out, even if you pay yourself nothing, there's still this viability line where you can't do it. And he's saying, there's no value whatsoever. In fact, it's suicide to add all these stretch goals and stuff like that. And he goes into the math explaining why, stretch goals are really, really bad. And will send you
taking
under.
it a higher level too, because I was watching your mailbag video about how everybody's putting stuff on Tindy these days and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, right. Yep.
I think in general, it's just you're not doing anyone any favors by pricing your stuff too low.
No, totally.
Like you're not even just like, oh well, just be for now. It's like, nope, you're gonna disappoint people. You're gonna make people angry at you, and just charge what you should charge, which at the very least is bomb times 2.4, or safely bomb times 3.
Exactly. If you're just a one-man band, if you're not, well, this guy goes into all the math on salary and all that other stuff and all sorts of it's really in depth and it's great. Yeah. The viability curve of death.
I will have to check
where
that
your
out.
Project is you're guaranteed to go out of business, and he's not wrong. I'm telling you, he's bang on.
Yeah.
He's bang on. Like the numbers, you can fudge a little bit up or down either way, but geez, no. Oh, and he's an Aussie too.
Yay.
3dprototypesandmodels.com.au. Anyway, there you go. Fantastic. Don't know if he listens to the show or not. Don't even know his name. Sorry.
So, Dave, you are going to be at the electronics show next week?
Yes, I will.
Cool.
No, this week. Wednesday and Thursday.
Sorry. Probably when the show comes out. So yes. I've got to set it up tomorrow, so I've got to go there and set it up. Set up my stand. I'll just have the usual stuff. Hopefully, I'm going to sell T-shirts, but they haven't shown up. Hopefully, but I will be giving away micro rulers. They will almost certainly be here, and I'll be selling some microcurrents. Hopefully, if you need one and want to pick one up, I've got new stock and Oh, cool. Damn, I forgot to test. Oh, no. Anyway, there goes the rest of my day. Yep.
All right, no. No, sorry if I don't release any videos, folks. It's just hectic at the moment.
I will be out in San Francisco there's a hardware meetup again on Thursday at the Supply Frame office. I think there might be waiting list room, but there will be talk about switch mode power supplies and FPGAs and a couple other things. So right,
so they actually allow Joe Public into these things?
We have public events. So
okay, right.
And then I will be at the Hardware Workshop on Friday and Saturday, which is kind of interesting. It's meant for hardware startups. It's and it's like $75, but they only let the actual hardware startups in, so they don't let other people in.
Right.
And then but basically like this talks on how to get your stuff made and build companies, blah blah blah. So
right, interesting.
I'll be at that.
Oh, next week, not this week. Next week, I'm test driving a Tesla.
Oh, yeah.
And hopefully, and I'm in
video,
talks.
Right?
Phil will be in the backseat with the video camera, and I'll
nice.
It's a 10-15 minute. Totally scheduled drive, right?
Yeah.
I'll be, in the line with a whole bunch of other people. But I'll get a Tesla test drive. But I am in talks with possibly, potentially getting one for review at some stage. But they're very rare in this country. They're very rare.
You should just buy a ticket and come over here, man. It'll be fun. Right. There's one down the street from me. Like literally, there's one that lives. The guy that lives down the street has one. So.
Yep. Yeah. I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. Anyway, I'll be doing that, and other news which I can't talk about, but the Australian government, they have asked for my opinion on crowdfunding. So there you go.
They already have crowdfunding. It's called taxes.
Yeah, I know. It's called taxes. Anyway, so I'm going to give it to him. And
Dave's going to give it to the government. That's right.
Yep, exactly. Anyway,
cool, man.
That's all. We're 15 minutes over.
Okay. Cool. I'll talk to you next week.
If I don't die from being worn out from all the shit I got to do.
Yeah.
Bye.
Your life is so hard.